Welcome to the next episode of Elevate. We're coming live from Kasama Space in Soto, Seattle, Washington. Our next guest is Angela Shen. Angela launched, grew, and ultimately sold Savor Seattle. Welcome, Angela. It's so great to have you here today.
Thanks for having me, Rachel.
Would it be fair to say that you're best known for Savor Seattle to our local community and beyond?
For sure. Savor Seattle was my first child before my own biological kids were born. So that's definitely what I'm known for here in Seattle.
So how did it all start?
Savor Seattle started 15 years ago when I moved here from Chicago. I had been working at Quaker Oats in brand management and decided it was time to start a new chapter and finally break out and start my own business.
That's awesome. I can definitely relate to that, starting your own business. So why food business?
That's a great question. I chose to go into food because my family has roots in the restaurant industry. I grew up in a Chinese restaurant. My father is a chef. My mother worked front of house. And I grew up toiling away in the back, the front, wherever they needed my help. So I've always loved the power of food in bringing people together to the table. Really, it doesn't matter what language you speak, everybody speaks food.
Mm-hmm. I can only imagine running a business like this for 14 years. I'm sure there were ups and downs. What were some of the challenges?
Well, looking backwards, running a company from the ground up with 14 years, it started with just me. So I was the person who led the tours, operated customer service calls, ran the website, did the PR, so it was a lot to take on. But as it grew, some of the other challenges that came about were things like we just simply didn't know how to do things any differently. So it required us to have a serious overhaul of the company's organizational structure as we continued to leapfrog our growth year on year. And so that was all new for me.
That takes courage. What were some of the best moments, or what were some of the wins that you've had?
So some of the big wins came very early on. I think with starting food tours, we were one of the very first pioneers in the United States and in the world to launch. And at the time, I really wasn't sure if the idea was going to work. I had this concept in my mind, having come from a family in the food business, but I thought, I have nothing to lose, right? So I better give this my full effort, and I can always go back to the corporate world. But I think that the ability to take that first step and that big leap of faith to say, what do I have to lose, is one of the biggest wins and lessons I've learned.
Oh, I love that. I think a lot of people would resonate a lot with your statement, especially people who have started businesses.
Sure.
And, I know COVID hit, and that, food tour business is like probably, you can speak more to that, like probably shut everything overnight.
Yeah, so I still remember it was March 14th that we got our first email from a corporate client at Google saying, we're going to need to cancel our event that's happening next week because of COVID. And so, yes, pretty much overnight, our entire business came to a halt. We had to really think very quickly to change our company, to save it. This 14-year-old company that had been stable for a very long time, gone just like that.
Oh.
Heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking.
Yes. I'm trying to think back to the moment where everything really shut down, and where do we go from here?
I remember calling my dad, and he said to me, well, you can figure this out. I know you can do it. I said, I don't know if I can do it. Actually, that was my biggest fear in that moment, was panic. I don't even know if I have what it takes, even if I had the right idea, to flip this whole thing around. And that doubt was a very scary few days for me to wrestle with, because all the past 14 years, I was so confident and I was just crushing it. And so wrestling with that doubt was very painful.
Oh, I can feel that panic moment. Yeah. Then, so how did you overcome that? How did you decide that what was the next step for
It's
you?
funny. I think entrepreneurship might be genetic. I definitely inherited it from my father. But my daughter, who is 11 today, she came to me and was saying, Mama, isn't this like a big deal that you can't run tours? I said, yeah, actually, it's a really big deal. And she said, well, have you thought about maybe instead of bringing people to the restaurants, because they're closed, why don't you just take all the food and deliver it to people instead?
Wow. Yes, you just never know where ideas going to come from. And so then you ran with it. So
I did.
What were the reactions of the vendors that you used to work with?
Now, before that meant taking small groups of people to the restaurants, introducing them to the chefs and the owners, feeding them. So when pandemic hit, we transitioned and said, we're going to do a curated food box of different Pike Place Market merchants every single week. And we're going to do local delivery and pickup. And then it snowballed, and before we knew it, we were doing nationwide shipping. So we helped save so many small food businesses here in Seattle during a crazy pandemic year. And that is something that is my legacy, and I'm so proud of that.
So from food tour guide business to shipping, nationwide shipping, local delivery, packaging the food, that is completely different business model. How did you do that?
Building a whole new business model in pandemic felt like building a parachute while we were falling off the building. It was an adventure. Yeah. It's interesting. I think we were very fortunate to be so supported by the community. Seattleites are very passionate activists. And with this message that we came to them with, help save small businesses here in Seattle. And we donated a minimum of $5 of every single box that we sold to benefit a local nonprofit. So in total, across 2020, we donated over $100,000 to multiple nonprofits and contributed over $2 million in direct sales to 120 plus small businesses here. So we did our part, to try to fight for this landscape that we love so much.
Wow, that is impressive numbers. That is really impressive numbers. I know that you saved lots of small business who might have fallen and not have recovered.
It feels really good. One recent owner actually came back to connect with me post-pandemic. Well, I feel like we're kind of still in it. So the owner of Joe Chocolate came to me, Peter, and he said, during pandemic, Savor Seattle replaced Whole Foods as our #1 customer. Without Savor, we would not have made it. And that is just, there are no words.
Yeah.
So us working as hard as we did with such a small team, literally half of our team from the year prior, to more than double our business and to make such a big impact on the community felt really fulfilling.
Truly, that is really your legacy, that people will talk about it for a really, really long time. So I want to hear, so then how did you get actually the business restructured? How did you get the whole shipping infrastructure, and how did you get all those boxes, weekly boxes from multiple vendors? Is not, I can't imagine, so they're all manually, everybody was filling the boxes?
Yes.
Every day?
Every day, every week. It was, like you said, a whole new business operation. I just started making phone calls to people in the community because, of course, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. So I just figured out, okay, these are the things I need today, or tomorrow, next week. I need a space to pack boxes. So I called up Joe Chocolate. I said, your cafe is closed. Can I borrow your cafe next week for box packing and for pickups? And then we outgrew that space within a week and a half. So then I started calling restaurants that I knew. I said, hey, guys, your restaurants are closed for I don't know how long. can I borrow your restaurant for 5 weeks, right? I just need a walk-in cooler and a lot of open space. And so that just got us to the next step, and we really didn't know what was next. But I reached out to a friend of mine who had just started a tech company. I said, I have this crazy idea. She said, we'll build the technology for you. I said, really? And she said, yeah, no, you need e-commerce, you need delivery system optimization, you need inventory management. I was like, I need so many things. If you can help me, that's great. And so we were all in it together, this new adventure that nobody knew that we were signing up for.
Yeah. Wow, that's so amazing that you have that community of friends and people who can really like come together, huddle together to make that happen. Well, let's talk quickly about a very relevant topic. Our mutual friend, Michelle Lee. She's the reporter in St. Louis. Somebody left a voicemail at her station when she was sharing what kind of different food for New Year's Eve. And then she shared she eats dumpling because she's from Korea. Her heritage is from Korea. And then the voicemail came, and then that she should keep her Korean to herself.
Hi, this evening your Asian anchor mentioned something about being Asian and Asian people eat dumplings on New Year's Day, and kind of take offense to that, because what if one of your white anchors said, well, white people eat this on New Year's Day? I don't think it was appropriate that she said that, and she was being very Asian, and I don't know, she can keep her Korean to herself.
The hashtag Very Asian has been trending globally, making its round with an actor Ken Jeong saying he's very proud to be very Asian with Michelle Lee.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Can I just go on record and say, heaven forbid that like somebody were to talk about eating turkey or pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. I mean, how shocking would that be, right? I think it's a very strong reminder, right, that again, there is much work to be done in this space. Yeah. Luckily, Michelle is very strong, and she has a very positive mindset. So she took what could have been a very difficult moment and made it harder, but instead she took it as an opportunity to really bring the community together. She is a public figure and using her platform to bring this message out. And she started a hashtag, Very Asian, and it is trending like crazy now, right?
Yes.
And to think that this terrible racist comment could have really been a thorn for her, and I'm sure she was very emotional when she received that message.
Yeah.
Now it has galvanized so many people, and there's merchandise that has been made with proceeds benefiting AAPI journalists. And I even reached out to Savor Seattle and said, hey, can we do an AAPI box, right? Like to benefit the same organization. Yeah. And there's just so many ways to tie in, to magnify this message and take advantage.
For sure. I think it's worldwide too. The hashtag Very Asian hashtag is trending. And I've seen so many yummy dumpling photos and Asian photos that are coming up. I'm like, oh, yes, this is it. Yeah. Like you said, it's coming back full circle. Food unites people. And that's one way we can express ourselves, and that's one way we can relate to one another. It's not just Asian community either. It's like Seattle, we live in a very inclusive culture, very inclusive city. And it's amazing to see how Michelle was able to turn this negative message and negative experience into something very uniting.
Yes, I'm proud of her. I'm proud to be very Asian myself.
Yes, me too.
That's right. I think it's an incredible testament to our community and being Asian that we don't just sit back and take it and be kicked, right? And we come back stronger and take it as an opportunity to be better. Yeah. And that's what's really powerful.
I agree with you. What's next for you? Where are we?
Your guess is as good as mine. I've been wrestling with this question of what am I going to be now when I grow up for the past, 10 months since selling Savor. And I'll be very honest, it's a very vulnerable and challenging question because for the duration of my professional career leading up to now, I've always had a plan. I was always good at what I did, and I was in the public space. And when I pulled that safety net out by selling Savor, I actually didn't know, and I still don't know for sure what I'm doing next. I very much still am recovering from the hustle of being an entrepreneur, especially during COVID. As successful as that pivot was, it took a lot out of me, my family, and what I want at this stage in my personal life is to be present for my 9-year-old son, 11-year-old daughter, my family, and that balance that we throw around. And so I actually don't know that I want to do something big and huge, but really something that's meaningful to me, contained, that I can do on my own.
Wow, thank you for sharing that story just now. And I know it takes courage to share that vulnerability. And I could understand a little bit the type of pressure that you are in, and then also I am really commending you. Like, I want to encourage you that it's okay to take that time. It is something very unique to working mothers too. The tug that you have, all working, we all have it. It's just like, what is the right balance and what is the right time for me? What is the right thing for me, and to have it all.
You said something that really hit home, which is that I can have it all. Something I share with other entrepreneurs all the time is that exact message. You definitely can have it all. You just may not have that all at the same time. It's like reading a book. There's many chapters. You just can't read all the chapters at the same time.
Well, is there anything else? Our goal is to elevate everybody. What would be your advice?
I think a couple of things for advice come to mind. The first is what we touched on earlier, which is you never know. Just give it a try. Because what's the worst that can happen? So I think about a lot of young entrepreneurs who are trying to decide when it's the right time to leave their corporate job, that security, to go and break out on their own. You have time on your side in your youth, right? So the worst thing that could happen is it doesn't succeed and you can go back. You can go back to corporate. You've got a whole long life ahead of you, right? So that's number one. And another big piece of advice is believe in that change mindset, that reinvention mindset, because we're supposed to grow. We're meant to change and evolve and reinvent ourselves. So if you're open to that opportunity to learn and be a lifetime learner, then you're going to be more likely to be open and see opportunities for businesses, because there aren't always a whole bunch of new ideas. You don't need it to be a new idea. You just need to do it better than somebody else. That's the big third thing that I learned, which is reaching out to the community. I definitely didn't have the answers. I had no idea how to do any of these things that I had dreamt up, but other people did know how, and were eager to be part of a train that was going somewhere, right? And that was so much fun, and they wanted to jump on board too, because something good was happening in a time that was very challenging. And so that to me reminded me that you're not alone. You may be an entrepreneur trying to break out doing something new for you, but you have an entire community of people that are willing to help you. You just have to ask.
And you stuck with your values. And that will be a great message for anybody, either business owners or, in their jobs.
Yeah, I'm excited to carry that forward for myself even in 2022. So I'm thinking to myself right now, I'm like, okay, am I being true to my core values in this next thing I'm doing? Yes, I am. So that's good.
Yes, great. Thank you so much for coming here and having these conversations, and your wisdom and your story, all of it is so motivating. It's so inspiring. I know it will inspire so many future entrepreneurs.
Well, it's an honor to be here, and thank you so much, Rachel, for having me.
Thanks for watching. This episode was the conversation with Angela Shen, a founder of Savor Seattle. We will continue to have these inspiring stories inviting local female leaders around Pacific Northwest. Stay tuned for next episode. Thanks for watching. See you next time.